Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, it does not work without you guys. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up here this morning, friends. Well, it's beginning. It's beginning. Let's hope that it's going to have an ending. The rookies yesterday reported start taking their COVID test, the physicals, and probably by tomorrow, all of our rookies should be signed and ready to get into the fold. And hopefully by Saturday, they'll be actually working out in the facilities. Now, if you didn't know, late yesterday evening, the NFLPA agreed that there will be no preseason games. Let me say that again. There will be no preseason games. The first time we will see our team on the field will be 53 days, 11 hours, 15 minutes, and 20 seconds in Los Angeles against the Rams. And more than likely, there won't be any fans in the stands as well. So it's going to be a season like none other. Now, for the Dallas Cowboys, the problem you have this year, there are going to be problems that are going to be difficult for everybody. Because of the NFLPA, NFL agreement, collective bargaining, they reduce the amount of practices. Let me say it again. They reduce the amount of practices on a normal year. They reduce the OTAs because they're figuring, hey, let's give the players a little carrot here so we can get those 17 games. Because players, they don't like to be talking about practice. Not a game now. We talking about practice. Well, this year, it's going to be even worse because we've had no OTAs at all. And this is actually the first time that the players will be together for this season. And it's still going to be socially distanced. And this offseason is going to be condensed even more. Now, we don't have the final word yet exactly how the structure is going to be, but basically, what the NFLPA wanted is 21 days of strength and conditioning to get the guys in shape. Then have basically 10 days of practice with just helmets, walkthroughs, and then 8 to 10 padded practices going into the season. That's not a whole lot of time. And when you're a team that now has a new head coach, a new philosophy, a new system, that's going to make it difficult for you to implement your play calling. If you've got a lot of new players that are into your system, it's going to make it difficult to get them all on the same page. But here is actually with the Dallas Cowboys, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. The Cowboys may have made the wisest move after firing Jason Garrett, holding on to Kellen Moore. It's not that they foreshadowed seeing the whole coronavirus and having this issue. I think it was more of they were preparing in case Dak Prescott held out. If they didn't get the deal done with Dak, if we have Kellen Moore and he's not there for OTAs and everything else, we keep the system basically the same kind of play calling and stuff. That way we don't screw up the season. Well, that didn't happen with Dak holding out, of course. He ended up signing his franchise tag, and he's ready to go. He's been working out with players and things like that. So that's not the issue. But imagine if we had a new offensive coordinator with Mike McCarthy, and they change everything as far as play calling, the signals, everything. So now all of a sudden you have everybody offense that has to learn something totally different. New terminology. What you're going to call it out of, okay? Not only new plays, but how you call it. By keeping Kellen Moore, it's easier to have Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy teach Mike McCarthy my terminology. We put your wrinkles and stuff in there, and you could keep the same play calling to the guys on the field. You follow me? Mike McCarthy will have a design type of play that he wants. I want to do this. Now, Kellen Moore can take that and turn it into terminology that the players on the field understand from the past system. It'll just be more things that they'll be doing in different times, as opposed to running on first down up the middle with Zeke Elliott 75% of the time. You may actually throw in, say play action, maybe a bootleg, You may even try and go deep, to kind of stretch the field. But you'll be able to call it with things that you are familiar with. Because Dak and Kellen Moore, surprisingly to me, surprisingly to me. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was actually DMV, Dallas Cowboys. I miss him doing a lot of YouTube and stuff, but it's a crazy world these days. But DMV has a lot of great isms. Like one of them is when you control the middle of the field, you control the field. And when you look at the Dallas Cowboys defense, we've had a hard time controlling the middle, as in the nose, the center of the field. They don't believe in that playmaker in the middle, as well as safety. But those two players are key, which is true. He's 100% right on that. But he described it when we were first talking about Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator. We looked at it from the standpoint of, if, let's say, I was a junior in high school. We got a senior who's the starting quarterback. I take his starting position as a junior, and I do better at it than he did. Then the next year, he gets hired as a coach. So it was kind of like, this guy that I beat out, what is he going to be able to teach me? I'm better than he is. And that's the analogy that we'd use. But not all great players become great coaches. More times than not, it's the guys that weren't great players that become great coaches. Because, see, here's the thing. When you look at Kellen Moore was a really good quarterback in college. But Kellen Moore, you don't look at and say he has all the physical tools, the gift, the height, the cannon arm and things like that. Guys that are like that have to be a tactician in order to compete with the people that have more physical tools. They have to understand the routes better. They have to understand the timing and things like that. They have to understand the minute stuff. And people would say, when we looked at the first year that Kellen Moore was actually the quarterback's coach, and we started out 3-5, and they're like, oh man, this guy sucks. But if you look at the progression of Dak throughout that season, and once we got Amari Cooper, you could actually look and say, okay, he did actually pretty good. And understand one other thing too. Being a quarterback coach is different than being an offensive coordinator. The difference is I am, as a quarterback coach or a personnel or a position coach, it is my job to teach you how to step. Make sure that you're stepping not 9 inches. I need you to take an 8-inch step and turn and fire, okay? It's the minute details of how you do something. Coordinator is totally different. I understand the down, the distance, the defense that the other team's in, and what is going to be the best play for me to do against that formation at this time in the position on the field. It's more of being cerebral about what you're calling. It's kind of like a CEO of a company. He may not know how you make the sausage, but he makes sure that he's got people who do underneath of him. It's his vision that they're implementing below him. And that's where Kellen Moore actually, for the most part, you could kind of see where we were actually a dynamic offense. When you look at, say, the Rams game, where we came out in an I formation and we jumped out of it, and then we ended up going into, boom, started passing the ball, started using play action, and it killed the Rams. And then when we get to an Eagle game, that whole play system, that whole play calling just changed 180. And you felt like that was Jason Garrett putting his stamp on it. So it'll be nice to see a mind who has had success at AT&T winning a Super Bowl as well as playoff games against us. Having that mind, translating it into Kellen Moore, who translates it onto the field. And this is where you look at the offense. We're actually very, very fortunate that the offensive players are not changing much. I mean, we're plugging CeeDee Lamb in for Randall Cobb. Okay, I'll do that all day, all day. You're taking Blake Jarwin, who's been, there for a couple of years, and making him your number one tight end for Jason Witten. Well, Blake Jarwin's got a little bit more speed than Father Time, so you look to have an improvement there. Now, of course, you lose Travis Frederick, which is hard to replace, but you've got a Joe Looney who has started for a whole season. So from the standpoint of, are the Dallas Cowboys at a disadvantage having changed in coaching with this shortened no preseason games? I don't think they really are as far as offense goes. The smart thing was holding on to Kellen Moore. So we'll see how it all works out, and hopefully, we've only had 59 players thus far who have tested positive for coronavirus leading up to rookies reporting. Hopefully that number stays low and we continue to be able to hope for a season. I'm Mark Holmes, and well, I got to go get to my day job. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Be safe on this hump day. I'll see you soon.